Alright, welcome back to Comic Book Wednesdays, a weekly series where we discuss comic books. We're your hosts, I'm Ian.
I'm Al.
And I'm Shane.
Alright, and we're back with some more Gambit. Al, do you know the writer by chance? I don't have it off the top of my head.
I don't remember what it is. I can look it up if you give me a second.
Yeah, I'm also
To do that.
race you to it.
You could try, but I don't know how that's gonna work.
Layman is the
Lehman,
yeah.
And I'm not sure who the penciler is or the inker, but I'm not a super huge fan of them.
Yeah, the art style is not my favorite. It feels very much like I'm watching a cartoon, and not in the iconic like X-Men type of way. It's not.
Yeah, no, it's very weird feeling. I like the idea of the story, but yeah, like I said, the art style's just not doing anything for me.
No, that's fair. And we went from something so iconic as like that early '90s, late '80s feel of comic books
To
this.
something that doesn't feel anything like it.
Yeah. In my opinion, a lot of modern age comics kind of lose something because they like try to go for this almost like realistic movie feel, but like
It doesn't work, I feel like.
no, not always. Depends on who you're looking at.
Yeah.
Anything to add on the art chain?
No, I kind of agree. Like, there are some panels with Gambit where I'm like, oh, okay, like this makes sense, and then there are other panels where I'm like, why does he almost looks too young in some scenes,
Yes.
and then looks
absolutely.
older in others. Like, there's not really a consistency on his age with the art.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it's weird because like a lot of the other characters are done fine. Like the character Dan had no problem with the way the artist drew him.
I think because we're just so used to the way like Gambit's supposed to look, they like tried to change the way he looks.
Yeah. And the brown coat doesn't, or the orange coat does nothing for me.
Oh, the outfit's terrible. The change.
Yeah, it's
I
awful.
I hope that goes away. Like, because it seems like in these 12 issues we're going to be reading, there's going to be at least 2 storylines. This House of Cards one is like 6 issues. It seems like.
Yeah. And I enjoy the story. Like it's a decent story, and it kind of really like shows his thieving ability and using contacts and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun. But
Yeah.
I don't. It just like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt my feelings about the character at all. But I'm glad we read those other ones first.
Oh, absolutely. I thought we had a real gem with the last one. Like that's some iconic work right there. Like, with this one, I feel like it felt like they needed to fill space with a book, so they have this.
Oh, that was a bad move. Sorry, guys. Back up, back up, back up.
Okay. Ooh, yeah, that was.
Sorry, I hit my trigger as I
It's
was walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was like a filler piece. Like it wasn't. I don't know if it wasn't meant for full airing or whatever, but it just doesn't. It doesn't feel good.
No, maybe lacks a little inspiration. It's all right, and well, let's talk a little bit about the. Sorry, Shane.
No, you're good. I was gonna say I got the impression that like we were more in for like a slow burn with this comic, like as it was kind of coming through, like a slow burn into the story, which like I don't necessarily mind. The other ones were definitely more like fast. They were more evenly paced, and I really enjoyed that. So, but yeah, no, I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts as we get into the actual issues.
Yeah. Well, let's start with this. So, like, the general story is that Remy's come to New Orleans to kind of do a job. Uh, you know, it's kind of a time crunch. He's trying to steal what seems to be an occult artifact, deck of tarot cards, before a mutant crime lord kind of like steals them himself, and he's trying to prevent them from getting to the wrong hands. With that said, how did you feel about them using tarot cards in this nature, Shane? Because like they're not really something that is like a dark, dangerous thing,
No.
at least from my knowledge.
No, it's not a dark, dangerous thing like this. It was so weird. I had a couple of issues for, like, a few reasons. The first being, they did talk about, like, how the tarot cards are made in Italy, which, that's a good nod to historical references, because that's the origin of tarot. It was first made in Italy. I believe, historically, it was designed as a toy for a wealthy family, and somebody who's watching, because we have a few people watching, can correct me if I'm wrong here. It was designed as a toy for a wealthy family with like different art and like beautiful portraits, and it was like something to entertain the kids as a way of being like, yeah, it can tell your future, tell you what your parents are thinking. Like, it was something goofy. It wasn't like an occult designed item.
Right.
So having them both mention Italy, I was like, oh, that's cool. They did their homework. That's nice.
Yeah.
The thing that really got me was that, like, the entire time Remy was like, oh, occult things, like Doctor Strange, and like everyone around him is like, magic isn't real, and I'm like, motherfucker, you know Doctor Strange, you just name dropped him, and you're gonna sit here and tell me magic isn't real?
Yeah.
What?
That was a choice. Like, that's so weird. Like, magic obviously exists in this universe. It's not even a question.
100%.
You know?
I just picture him walking up to Doctor Strange and being like, you're not real, and then just walking away.
Yeah, so that it was interesting, and
There's something here.
But yeah, normally tarot cards cannot open doors, they cannot, like, summon the demons, like, you're basically asking certain things and doing certain things, like, so it's a bit of a stretch, but like, yeah, it's Hollywood, I get it.
yeah, I mean, it seems like they kind of just needed a MacGuffin, and they chose tarot cards. You know, and what we got there was like a demon djinn type thing.
I got more of a djinn vibe because he didn't really say much.
What are you gonna say,
No, yeah, had a brain fart.
That's alright.
Mixing multiple media sources up.
You are? You said?
Yeah.
Well, run us through what you're thinking anyway.
I was remembering something on the Deadpool trailer and mixing that up with what you were talking about.
That's fair. You got a lot of X-Men on the brain.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the MCU about the X-Men right now, which is, it's cool. I'm excited for, but it's a lot to keep straight.
That's fair. Absolutely fair. So I don't know. I felt like I was reading these books and I thought that like overall like it had some cool action scenes to it. You know, you see some cool uses of Gambit's abilities, his thieving.
I did like the scene where he was stealing from Stark Industries, and he's like, probably not a great idea to steal from the people or the guy that fronts the Avengers, but
yeah. That was pretty fun. And then he kind of used the kind of classic misdirect. He like grabs the more bigger item and like makes him think that they stopped him, but really all he wanted
He was
was
looking
the
for a
microdisc.
disc.
Yeah. And not like the big thing that Stark was moving. Clever.
Right.
Really cool. I also liked shortly after that he steals a bowling ball from some poor sap.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it look like he's just like being an ass, but he's really like trying to steal. That was also clever. You know, the whole setting
And
up.
then using that bowling ball to, blow the west gate up or whatever of the mansion he's breaking into was pretty cool.
Right, and then use all his abilities to take out the cameras pretty quickly and do that kind of stuff. Like it's neat.
Yeah.
You gotta give them that. They know what they're doing there. I don't necessarily like how they wrote this Gambit character. I know he's supposed to be somebody who's always been a ladies' man and all that kind of stuff. However,
I'm sorry, you cut way out. Can you say that again for me, Ian?
yeah, I'm saying I don't like how they wrote this character this time around because I know he's supposed to be a ladies' man. However, they call him out for being like, you have Rogue back home, you know, basically. They show her, there's a whole page dedicated to her face, you know, different angles and shit. And it clearly wants you to know that he's with Rogue.
Joining the fray.
Wait, and especially because like in the last sex of books that we read, he was almost kind of family oriented. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, absolutely.
It wasn't like he's like, yeah, he was a ladies' man, but he was also about having the family and doing right by him.
Yeah, he was honorable with it.
And it kind of alluded to him in the last set. It alluded to him being a ladies' man in the past. He was devious in the past, but as Gambit, as part of the X-Men, he's kind of put that aside. He's kind of with Rogue. In that last story, he had a wife that he thought was dead, so he wasn't actively cheating on her with Rogue. And then when he found out his wife was back, he did everything he could to be with her, to try to save her life. And then when that didn't work out, he was like, "Hey, Rogue," you know, like jokingly, like tries to ease the tension, you know.
Yep.
And in this, it shows Rogue not even like, I think maybe the next issue, you know, he's like getting tempted by a drunk woman, essentially. Lily Penrose, I believe her name is, the one that hired him. And they very much allude to him fucking her. Excuse my French.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, like,
that was one of the things I didn't really like, because like I don't.
It felt forced.
It felt forced, and I don't see Gambit as the type of person like. We just read an issue about how honorable he is. And I really don't see Gambit as the type of person who's just like, oh, here's this drunk woman who very clearly can't say yes. Sure, let's do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and smiles to the camera, like.
Yeah, like that was sleazy.
Very sleazy.
Yeah, which to me that's not Gambit. Like,
no,
it just isn't.
Not at all. Like, he's a flirt, yeah, but he's not going and just like screwing some girl when like he's with Rogue. Like, to me, that's just not him.
Well, they also make a reference in this to those comics that we read, because like he initially kisses the woman in the beginning, like who's giving him the job, and he was telling the mob boss like, oh, I'm here because I have a date, like that's the only reason I'm here. And kisses her, and she's just like, why are you doing this? Give me a good reason why I shouldn't, like, stab you with my fork, basically. And he's just like, yeah, play it cool. I'm just trying to make it so he, you know. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I understand why he did that. He's just trying to cover himself.
Right.
Like, that to me
that made sense.
Yeah. Wasn't forced. It was plot-driven. Like, it was part of the dynamic of, like, trying to one up the mobster, and then like he's talking to, I apologize, I forget the character's name, one of the fortune teller ladies, and
Madam
Starts with a C.
Madam something.
yeah, I'll just say the madam because we know that.
Yeah.
He's talking to the madam, and she's like, "Oh, well, why are you really here unless you have another, another dead wife I don't know about?" Like she makes a reference to that.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yes.
like, okay, cool. We're all on the same page that his wife has passed away. Like, not passed away, but like, we know what happened there.
Yeah.
We know that he wants to be with Rogue. This is just kind of,
Yeah, it definitely was not my favorite book.
I feel like the action though, and like that part, like that's gonna build to something nice. I'll give it credit there.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
Yeah, I think the artist really knows how to capture the movement of Gambit. The fight scenes are going to be pretty good. They got that down, which I'm happy about. So I'm hoping that can distract me from like just the writing that's going on. It's just a little strange to me.
Sure.
I agree.
Like that being said, I'm still enjoying like exploring into this world in the X-Men. Like I will also say like one of the things I liked is I liked how they painted him as like as the anti-hero, because we definitely have this moment where he's talking about Stark and he's talking about the Avengers, and I really liked that in the boat where he's just like, yeah, I guess I shouldn't steal from him, and it's like I just love that he's just like, meh, I'm here to do a job. Everybody else could just kind of eat me.
Yeah.
I just think that's funny.
I also liked some of the authors of witty moments with some of the side characters. You have like that boatman that's giving Gambit the ride, and he's like talking about charging him money or something.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was pretty funny. Like, there's some just quick whips, things like that.
That was really funny.
I like that a lot. Then to kind of go on the downside, what is with the fortune telling from being able to play cards? Like,
Dan, so yeah, I didn't quite get that either. That was not my I don't know what his character's about, to be honest with you.
it seems like he has this. He might be a mutant, but he has the ability to tell the future, but only when he folds his cards. So the better card hand he has.
And when he folds, the better story he gets from him.
Yeah.
That's... Now that I'm thinking about it, that's actually more or less how tarot works. Yeah, wow, that is great writing. Sorry, just epiphany there. It basically, super small thing. How tarot works is you're essentially letting the cards do everything. You're just the conduit. You're just the one that holds them. You're not giving them any sort of will. You're not, doing anything with them. You're just letting them do the work. You're the one just holding the items. And how that guy uses the cards with folding them, like, that's more realistic to how tarot is. So, kudos to the X-Men writer for having some fucking knowledge there. That's cool.
That's interesting. Okay. So it seems like the writer has like knowledge on how tarot works. They just chose to pick that as the MacGuffin for the story. So rather than it being like an idol or something, it's just a deck of cards that has we have to add it. It does have additional cards in the deck, I believe, and they said these additional cards could like kill you if you look at them.
Yeah, like the one scene where the guy went blind from looking at the cards.
Right.
One of the monks. Yeah.
Yes. That's exactly right. So okay, kind of get what's going on there, you know.
Yeah, that was good. I didn't make that connection until just now, so like, thank you guys for that.
Hey, again,
Yeah, there we go.
part of the reason
That
why we
works.
do it.
Yeah.
So that's always fun. Glad that happened. Yeah, but if I'm being honest, I don't hate these books. I don't love these books. I think I'm like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I'd
Leaning
agree with
more
that.
towards like I think they're okay. Like I'm not leaning towards bad because like I did sit there and go through these pretty quickly. Like I felt like they're not overly wordy, so you can
Nope.
like get through them faster. So like,
No, they were quick, easy read, but not as good as the other stuff.
yeah. And you know, be honest, Al, the last stuff we read, that's probably some of the best Gambit stuff there is. You
Yep,
know,
and that's why I wanted you guys to read it. Like, it, that stuff is. There are a couple of my favorite comic books out of everything I've read. They still hold uh, as some of the best comics I've ever read.
I could
So,
see that.
you know, like, that's why I really wanted them to be, to you guys experience those comics for what they were. Before we moved on to something that may not be as good and not ruin the character for you, but definitely give you a different, not as good uh, look of the
Take.
character.
yeah. I mean, we all know first impressions are important. So
Absolutely.
this is an excellent first impression. Or what we had last week was an excellent first impression for the character. So yeah, I mean, like, got really nothing to complain about now. I mean, we read the iconic stuff. Now it's just
Yeah.
let's see a little bit more of Gambit, how other writers are expressing the character, which you know it's not bad. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
complain. I mean, I hope that we don't get more sleazy Gambit. Like I don't,
Me too.
because I feel like that's just the writer not understanding the character, which is unfortunate.
Right. And I agree with that 100%.
How about you, Shane? Anything else?
I gotta say, I'm still riding the enjoyment high from those previous issues. Like that was some really great comics, and one of the big props that I can give to this writer is the references to those older things. Because like we've seen with a lot of Marvel stuff and with a lot of like other things, like when a new writer comes in, or like when they retcon something, or when like a creative story arc is just going whatever way a writer wants it to go, they can make some changes as like creative liberty and things like that. And I really like the references that Madam made as like a, hey, this other thing did happen. So like, yeah, good nod to the other stuff. And I'm really excited to see where it goes.
I'm with you on that. Absolutely with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I always enjoy reading these books with you guys. But yeah, I mean, next week we're going to continue with this. Again, this is Layman's Gambit run, I think 2004. And again, we read 1 through 3 today. We'll do 4 through 6 next week. So for those following along with Shane, if you guys have the ability to read them, love to hear from y'all. If not, just thank you for listening. But I think that's it for me. Al, this is your pick, so if you want to add anything.
No, like I said, I'm just glad we got to read those original ones first, and go from there. And hopefully they get a little bit better. But that's it for me.
Cool. Shane?
No, that was it. I'm looking forward to continuing. I want to see where this goes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Hope you guys have a good night.
Thanks for listening.
Later, y'all.